Today I will show you how to make Reshmi chicken. Resham translates to silk, so Reshmi chicken curry has this silky, luscious gravy. Namaskar and welcome to Curries with Bumbi, and this is my way of making Reshmi chicken. I've taken boneless, skinless chicken thighs. You can also use chicken breast. In it goes a teaspoon of ginger garlic paste, a teaspoon of fresh lemon or lime juice, a fourth of a teaspoon of ground black pepper, half a teaspoon of Kashmiri red chilli powder, and plain unflavored yogurt. I use thick Greek yogurt, but you can also use regular plain unflavored yogurt or curd, but in that case use a little more than the stated proportion. Then a teaspoon of salt. Now mix everything very well and allow this to get marinated for at least half an hour, or you can marinate it overnight in the refrigerator. Just remember one thing, take it out from the fridge an hour before cooking. Okay, pan out. Heat a tablespoon of oil over medium heat. These are the whole spices that will go in. I'm using just a tiny little petal that I broke from a star anise. Do not use too much star anise as it is very strong, or you can leave it out as well. Then 4 green cardamoms, 4 cloves, and a cinnamon stick. Stir the spices for a few seconds. Stirring the spices in hot oil releases its flavor. Next, onions go in that I have roughly sliced. Stir the onions on medium heat till they get slightly golden in color around the edges. You do not need to brown them up too much. Just a slight golden brown color is what we are looking for. Once they look like this, take everything out onto a bowl. Allow it to cool down before adding to your blender because not all blenders can handle heat. And I really do not want your blender to get damaged just for the sake of making Reshmi chicken. Okay my friends, once cooled down, add the fried onions along with all the whole spices into a blender. I added a third of a cup of water, but later I realized that I forgot to add another important ingredient to the blender, which I will be mentioning a little later. Okay, so you need a smooth paste. This will be the base gravy of your curry, and it needs to be silky smooth to live up to its name. Okay, using that same pan over medium heat, heat a tablespoon of oil and a heaped tablespoon of my homemade ghee. Now my friends, you can use only oil if you please to. Your kitchen, your Reshmi chicken, and you are the boss of your kitchen. A teaspoon of ginger garlic paste goes in. Quick stir and then add the blended onion paste. And you see all that goodness sticking to the blender jar? I need all that, so I added little water to the blender jar and that goes in too. Now at this point, I suddenly realized that I just forgot to blend an important ingredient, that is cashew nuts. I soaked the cashew nuts in hot water for about an hour. So what you need to do is to add these soaked cashew nuts along with the onions when blending, which I totally forgot. But thank goodness I remembered before it was too late. But you remember to add them into your blender jar along with the onions, or else it is very hard to get a smooth paste with such a small amount of nuts. Okay, the cashew nut paste goes in. Next, add the marinated chicken. And then it is spice time. A teaspoon of Kashmiri chilli powder, a teaspoon of ground coriander, that is dhania powder, half a teaspoon of ground cumin, that is jeera powder, and half a teaspoon of garam masala powder. You can also use a pinch of turmeric powder, but I choose to leave it out for this recipe. I also like adding a teaspoon of sugar to balance the flavors, but it is totally optional. Now cover it partially over medium heat for 5 to 6 minutes. And remember, you've used cashew nuts, so there is always a tendency for things to settle at the bottom of the pot and get burnt. So stir it frequently so that nothing sticks to the bottom. In between, I added salt to taste. I added salt earlier as well to the chicken when marinating, so please keep that in mind. Okay, soon you will see some of that oil floating on top. This is when I added half a cup of thick coconut milk and half a cup of hot water. Now my friends, this is why I said in the beginning that this is my way of making Reshmi chicken. Usually heavy cream is added at the end, But I wanted to make this light, so I chose coconut milk, though my husband doesn't like coconut milk. If you do not like coconut milk, just add a cup of hot water now and add half a cup of cream at the very end of cooking. Okay, again cover on low heat for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, do a taste test and adjust the seasonings. I felt the need to add half a teaspoon more of Kashmiri chilli powder. Then comes another perfuming ingredient, that is half a teaspoon of kasuri methi, that is dried fenugreek leaves. I also added a tablespoon of chopped coriander leaves and a few whole green chilies. Adding them whole like this won't make the curry overly hot. And if you're using cream, now is the time to add it. I added a teaspoon more of ghee. As you can see, the gravy is silky smooth, and this is exactly how you want it to look. Cover it on low heat for 5 more minutes and then you are done. I again added a little more of coriander leaves. You can serve this with naan, roti, paratha, pulao, biryani or just plain rice. I garnished it with a drizzle of coconut milk, chili oil and chopped chilies. Just for the purpose of presentation, you do not have to do that. Please give me a thumbs up and I will see you next time. Bye bye.